Welcome back, everyone. It's here. And today I've got some r/BestOf for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading you the posts, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, "Satan is not a pogo stick." This was originally posted by Crazy Bitch Tenant to r/Legal Advice December 8th, 2016. A friend of mine broke into my house, put her stuff at random places to make it look like she's been a tenant. Cops arrive, finds her stuff all over the place, and so, of course, they won't remove her. What do I do now? I have a friend who called me last night asking for a place to stay. I politely told her no. She's 25, I'm 19, and I should mention she's a narcissistic bitch. Today I was over at my cousin's place this morning, and when I came home, a couple of hours ago, I found this bitch inside my house. No signs of a break-in from the outside. I ask her how she got in, and she tells me through the back window. I tell her I never gave you permission to come here, and that she needs to leave immediately. And she says deal with it. I call the cops and tell them that there's a person who got inside my house without my permission, and that I need an officer to come and remove her. A couple of minutes later, they arrive, and here's what happens. She tells them, I know my rights, officers. I've been a legal tenant in this house for 2 months, and now you can't just remove me. I can go around and show you my clothes in the wardrobe, my toothbrush and my conditioner in the bathroom, and all of my other stuff. They take a walk with her, and all of her fucking stuff is all over my house. She fucking broke into my house, put her stuff all over so the cops would think she's been a tenant. The next thing they tell me is that I have to serve her with an eviction notice, and that they can't legally remove her since she's considered a tenant. I didn't even know what to tell them, as I felt so dumbfounded and shocked I was set up like this. I was silent for a few seconds, and so they try to explain how the law works to me, but since I just kept looking at them in silence, not believing myself, they just proceeded to leave. I'm so fucking pissed. I'm in California, so I can't even record her confessing to what she's done. If I can do that under an exception, I could easily do it because apparently she has no problem admitting to it when the cops aren't here. I'm not, however, going to do so if it will lead to more problems. I've also thought about calling 911 or the non-emergency line and telling the operator about the situation so the call would be recorded and then make my friend confess about it. Can I do that? Me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it would still be unlawful. How do I get this bitch out without having to serve her an eviction notice? Isn't that against the law what she did there? Isn't this fraud? I thought about trying to prove that she's been living somewhere else before, but I don't know what to do. This is fucked up. I'm really sorry about my language, but I'm really feeling so angry and I'm trying to be calm as much as I can while she's in my fucking house using my stuff and I can't do shit about it. Thanks. Relevant comments. The Pat Man. Quote, me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it would still be unlawful. End quote. Yes, because the person being recorded doesn't consent. Quote, how do I get this bitch out without having to serve her an eviction notice? End quote. If the police won't take action, eviction is all you have. OP responds, even if I found a way to prove she wasn't living here, so what now? I can go to any of my friend's house and put my stuff there and basically live for free? If I eventually get a proof she faked this, what can I do at that point? The Patman responds, quote, even if I found a way to prove she isn't living here, end quote. It's difficult to prove a negative, especially given that she didn't have another place to stay. Still, if you believe you have that evidence, you can try the police again. But if the police don't do anything, eviction is your only option. OP responds, so basically, anyone can break in anywhere at a friend's house and this would work? This is ridiculous. The Patman responds, tenants are given broad protection against being kicked out. This is a good thing. In your case, you have a situation where someone isn't a tenant but looks exactly like a tenant. That sucks, but it's an edge case, a one-off. It just doesn't happen that often. So yeah, in the extremely rare circumstance that someone breaks into your home with no damage and scatters enough stuff around to look like a tenant, you get a little boned. It sucks, but the worst thing you can do is compound it by trying to kick her out without the eviction. Top comment by Marzi-D. I'm gonna go in a completely different direction and suggest you get a protection order. This woman is dangerous and completely out of touch with reality. If I were you, I would be very, very scared. Go down to the court and fill out an order for temporary protection. The form will ask you if you two live in the same home. Say no. Put her last known address. You should get her ordered to stay away from you. and she will not be able to enter the apartment as it will be breaking the order. If you need to call the police, you can call and tell them you have an order of protection against this person and they will make her leave. You do not want a residence exclusion order, which requires actual violence. You want a stay away order. Update, December 9th, 2016, the next day. I texted one of her friends on Instagram who I know is close to and explained what happened. She gave me her boyfriend's name on Facebook and told me to talk to him and if he could come over and persuade her to leave. I've reached him and we got on the phone a few minutes ago. He said he can come over after work and see what he can do. Is there anything I should do before he comes here? Do I start recording video? Do I call the cops instead? Do I bring in a third witness? I'm really afraid if this ever turns into a domestic violence of some sort, if any of them decide to do anything stupid. Keep in mind I'm 19 and both of them are well over my age by a lot. Relevant comments. IKEA emotional. It's time to call in a friend. A close one. I would propose your mom, actually. Middle-aged women often have a magical violence de-escalating effect on unknown quantities. The point is, someone calm. Very calm. You don't need another voice here, you need a witness. If all goes well, I would suggest you lock the door behind her and this time, lock your window. The problem with that, of course, is the cops have already decided she lives there. So if she calls them claiming you locked her out, you're shit out of luck. In these circumstances, it might be worth the risk. You can begin accumulating evidence she did not live there as of yesterday. Call friends and family who can verify you lived alone or who can say where she lived. Instagrams of her taking pics of her place, Facebook posts where she indicates where she lives or implied is not with you. Like, get "can I come over" from a few days ago would be great. Once you're done with her, don't ever talk to her again. That's it. This is a new level of crazy and it's going to burn everything it touches. OP responds, quote, "It's time to call a friend, a close one. I would propose your mom, actually. Middle-aged women often have a magical violence de-escalation effect on unknown quantities. The point is, someone calm, very calm. You don't need another voice here, you need a witness." I didn't tell my mom about any of this yet because she worries a lot about me and she already has a lot of issues going on, so I didn't want to put any more pressure on her. I think I have to call her now, though. I know for sure she'll have my back on this. Quote, "Can you begin accumulating evidence she did not live there as of yesterday? Call friends and family who can verify you lived alone or who can say where she lived. Instagrams of her taking pics of her place, Facebook posts where she indicates where she lives or implied is not with you." End quote. When I looked up her Instagram account, I found lots of pictures in Arizona that she was dumb enough to have them tag with location. The pictures were taken within the past month. I took screenshots as well as archiving them like a web version. I also wrote down a transcript of how the conversation went down when she called me asking to stay at my place and I refused. I've screenshotted the conversation with her friend as well. User Gnopgnip comments, "Why didn't you follow the advice in the previous post and pursue a restraining order?" OP responds, "I should have done this, but I didn't. Someone mentioned that I should try and contact one of her friends or family and let them try to talk to her, and so that's what I did. I'm hoping it works. If not, I'll go file the restraining order." Real quick, just quick Oz insert. If you ever find yourself in a position where a restraining order is on the table, the sooner you get that filed, the better. Final update, December 10th, 2016, one day after the first update. First of all, I want to explain what happened, apologize, and thank all of you. Long story short, as soon as her boyfriend came in, she started crying hysterically. I told them that I'm video recording them through my phone, but they seemed uninterested in what I said. She started blaming him for all sorts of stuff. He kept apologizing a lot. And after what seemed like an eternity, she packed her stuff and they were both gone. Now, I've written down on a piece of paper all of your different advice. I'll file a restraining order against her. I'll also go file a police report and talk to the sheriff explaining everything that happened. I've documented all I could. I have screenshots of her Instagram account with the pictures tagged to Arizona. Plus, the video of her and her boyfriend arguing in my house and then packing and leaving together. My mom's main concern right now is getting the protective order ASAP and installing an alarm system in my house. She said she'll be staying with me until we can get a company to install an alarm system on Monday. Thank you guys for suggesting to call my mom. It made me feel safer while she was here. Apology, I know how annoying it was for you guys to keep giving me advice that I should file the restraining order and go to the police only to find me not do any of them, but invite a stranger to my house. My mom also pointed out how badly this could have gone with her boyfriend coming over. Comment from user Give Her the Works. I've been thinking about this since I read it. Honestly, I hope it's fake. If the cops showed up and this lunatic told them she was a tenant, Why would OP not say something like, fine, prove to them you live here. Where's your lease? Where are your keys? Where do you sleep? Show them your license with this address. Show them a piece of your mail addressed here. OP continues, I wish you were there with me, man, and pointed those things out. It just took me off guard. I just stood there saying nothing. Anyway, I'm so lucky it didn't get worse. I'm just really relieved this whole thing is off my chest now. I'm truly thankful for each one of you. Too long didn't read, she's gone. User just some lawyer guy comments, Jesus Christ, of course it's user the Patman giving terrible legal advice. He's not an attorney. If I remember right, he's just a cop. The sub needs to be shut down, it's so harmful. User Never Forever responds to this comment, especially with this tidbit. Me and the operator are aware of the call being recorded. I think it would still be unlawful. Yes, because the person being recorded doesn't consent. You don't need consent to record someone who's broken into your home. A criminal has no reasonable expectation of privacy in someone else's home. So Mandy Joe responds, it just can't be used as evidence in court, right? Like, there's no rule against recording people in general, and if the recording makes it super obvious one person is lying, wouldn't that help? Never Forever responds further, it absolutely can be used in court. You can't break into a home or business and then say you don't consent to the surveillance cameras that recorded you. Consent to record only applies to situations where you have reasonable expectation of privacy. You can't have a reasonable expectation of privacy in a place you've broken into. That whole part really bothered me, and I wanted to check the comments for a quick sanity check because that was just infuriating to look at and read. Like, the Patman's comments were just so incredibly unhelpful and just condescending, and just, they didn't add anything. It's just that one fucking meme of someone going to r/babies like, hey, my son just swallowed this, what do I do? And one of the moderators smugly going, if you read the rules, you would know that this post needs to go to r/chokingbabies, and not this subreddit. You're in the wrong place. You should have known better, and besides, you should have just kept better eyes on your child. Anyways, post deleted. I hate that Reddit logic so goddamn much. It's like a weird mix of like condescending victim blaming and a superiority complex somehow amalgamized into one goddamn person. But for the actual post, I understand why OP didn't take the quote-unquote correct actions every step of the way. They're 19 and were hit with a nightmare scenario where they had police officers siding with the person who broke into her home. You don't think of the, actually, responses off the top of your head, especially if you don't know what to say or what to look for. They're 19. They probably have very limited interaction with the usual things to prove tenancy, and it didn't come to their mind because they don't have that much exposure for it. But yeah, absolute nightmare situation. I'm glad that OP did start taking the time to document everything in case things did escalate, but seriously, if it wasn't for the boyfriend actually being on OP's side and talking with her and getting her to leave the house, this could have been so much worse or so much uglier. Honestly, beyond just getting documented proof and making sure you have the right words to say in the dialogue tree with the police officers, I don't really know what kind of repercussions you would have besides dealing with a 30-day eviction notice, which that just seems like it opens the door for a lot of problems. Because what's stopping them from once they get the eviction notice of just trashing the place? Like, ugh. That's just messy. This post was collected by Direct Caterpillar 77, and their tagline is, Satan is on a pogo stick. The regional OP is Suitcase Under Each Eye, posted August 16th, 2015, to r/relationships. My, 23 female, sister, 27 female, has been dating a guy, 27 male, for about a year, and he makes the entire family uncomfortable. Heads up, this is going to be long. Okay, so let me start off by saying my older sister has never been very mature. She's always been fun to be around, even if she hasn't been the best role model. Last February, she seemed to be really changing for the better. She started working out, seeing a therapist, broke up with her abusive boyfriend, and was all around starting to take better care of herself. We were thrilled. She and I have never been very close because we're polar opposites when it comes to personality. I'm outgoing and outspoken, and she's painfully shy and insecure. But we finally began forming an adult relationship, and I was happy to have the kind of older sister I could look up to. 2 months later, she meets this guy, Jerry, and things go downhill fast. She starts pulling away from the family, claiming she's a black sheep, and we don't understand her like he does. She starts picking fights over the tiniest things. stops working out, stops seeing her therapist, and stops putting any effort into anything but him. One of the things that really set this all into motion, I think, was that my mom had booked a beach house vacation for everyone and asked for just family. My sister threw a huge fit, screaming and crying and asking why our older sister's husband, of 7 years, was allowed to go but not her new boyfriend. My parents tried to be as understanding as possible and handled it the best they could. But I think she got into her head that they left him out on purpose. Keep in mind, my younger sister and I also had boyfriends who weren't allowed to come. Also, my parents had paid for the house and her plane ticket because she had told them she couldn't afford to come otherwise. In the past year, things have only gotten worse. There have been a couple of instances I'd like to highlight specifically. The first time we met him, we all went out for a trip to the lake. I tried paddleboarding for the first time, but ended up falling and injuring my hand. I started crying, and he asked to see it. I showed him my hand, which was already swelling and bleeding, which he took into his and proceeded to smack it pretty forcefully. Then he and my sister started cackling, while I began to sob and my dad took me to the ER. He did not apologize even after finding out it had been severely sprained. Next point. When my mom and little sister stayed with them overnight, he walked into the guest room without knocking while my mom was changing and wearing just a bra and underwear. She was startled and asked him to leave, but he said it wasn't a big deal because she was basically in a bathing suit. He then hugged her and left the room. Next point. While my sister, 20, went to stay with them, she witnessed him yelling inappropriate things at women jogging while they were driving to a restaurant. And when they returned to my older sister's apartment, Jerry tried to bully my younger sister into smoking weed with him. Next point. When my pregnant older sister met them at a Christmas party, he stood over her and wouldn't move until she got up to give him a hug. Next point. At the same party, he drank 6 to 8 beers in about 2 hours and then decided they needed to leave to drive back home. He was adamant that he could drive them home, even with my mom and uncle encouraging my sister to drive instead. My dad wasn't there at the time. Next point. He met my best friend of 20 years for 30 minutes and then proceeded to speculate that he was on drugs and a junkie because he went to the bathroom twice between us going to lunch and us leaving the restaurant. Next point. When my sister had her baby, she refused to sit and hold the child, insisting he was fine and accused us of thinking he was too stupid not to drop him. Next point. I went to visit my sister, and before I left, he insisted on hugging me. I tried to be friendly and went for a hug. He then proceeded to squeeze and shake me. I told him over and over that he was making me uncomfortable, but he wouldn't put me down. He took a long, noisy whiff of my hair before I finally shoved myself away from him, and he started laughing at my obvious discomfort. I looked to my sister for support, and instead, she told me that his hobby was to go up to strangers and sniff their hair and then challenge them if they acted uncomfortable. Next point. He got into a huge row with my aunt about vaccines and how bad they are and unnecessary. My sister just sat there and twiddled her thumbs. Keep in mind, my dad used to make vaccines. Next point. When my sister came to visit us the one time this year, he called her in a panic about how his brother was dead from a construction accident. Then it turned into his brother's friend was dead, and his brother was going to lose his legs. Then it was his brother's legs were just broken. Then it was his brother was totally fine and was being discharged from the hospital. This all occurred in the span of 24 hours she was with us. There's so much more, but I could go on forever, and I don't really think it's necessary. He lies about everything, then changes his stories, and when he's caught, he gets insanely defensive. My sister refuses to talk about it, even when we've tried to approach her about these issues calmly and rationally. She instead sees the fault in us, claiming we're elitist and trying to take away her one true love. She's made it clear in the last month that if we do not accept him, we do not accept her, and that she is willing to cut all contact with us to preserve her relationship with him. At this point, I have lost all respect for my sister. She has always been immature, but in the past year, she has turned into a manipulative bully. My parents have tried talking to her. They exchanged emails because she refuses to talk on the phone, but she won't hear a single negative word about him. She keeps attacking my parents like it's their fault. She refuses to respond to their emails now, but continues to send hurtful, malicious emails to them. Is there any way to save this relationship without completely ostracizing her? Too long didn't read. My sister's new boyfriend is displaying bullying/manipulative behaviors towards the family, but my sister refuses to see it. She instead has opted to cut off any communication between the family and herself. I just want to know if there's anything we can do. Relevant comments. Humpty Dumpty Falls. Yeesh. This guy sounds like a huge creep. It seems like you guys all live in the same area and see each other with some frequency, so going no contact may not be feasible. Go for as much reduced contact as possible. When you do have to hang out with them, physically distance yourself. Sit across the room, behind a table, etc., so he can't physically coerce you into hugs, slap your hand, smell your hair, etc. Hang out with them with a third party who will act as a buffer. A male buffer would probably be best, maybe your dad. I can't imagine he goes around smelling males. His behavior, especially how he behaves physically, strikes me as being very predatory. He's intentionally testing your comfort zone just to see your reaction. Don't give him a chance to test your comfort zone by physically not being near him. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like there's much you can do for your sister. She seems like she's intentionally rebelling and will do what she wants. What you can do is help yourself by reducing contact with this creeper and physically distancing yourself when you do have to be in contact. Hope he responds, I think when a person's hobby is to make people uncomfortable, there's probably something wrong. I have definitely reduced contact, physical and emotional, because I'm really tired of her trying to pick fights or complaining. I'm hoping that if we do see them, my dad will be able to be there to witness his bully-like behavior firsthand. Thank you. User Corn of Action comments, your dad won't see it because he won't do it around your dad. OP responds, yeah, he won't do it in front of my dad because he's more comfortable bullying women. Pirates! Ah! Comments, he thinks he can get away with it because he has. If he sniffed a man's hair, he would probably get punched. Violence is my only suggestion if he touches you again. He sounds disgusting. OP responds, that's what I said, and my sister has gone back and forth in her defense of it. One moment saying he only does it to his friends, then saying it only happens to strangers. It's so frustrating because she doesn't see how abnormal it is to do it at all. Serafina comments, it sounds like your sister is probably falling into another abusive relationship. You can't stop her if she doesn't want to hear it. What you can do, and should do, is stop letting this guy push you all around. It sounds like you all have let him get away with way too much inappropriate stuff. OP further responds, we definitely let him get away with a lot because we're trying not to push my sister away. So much for that. OP replying to a deleted comment. Her favorite excuse for him is that we just don't get his humor. I just told her it was a creepy sense of humor and not okay with me, but she doesn't want to hear that. And she picked on me a lot as a kid, and I was told my whole life that when we grew up, we'd get close, and I'd be able to have that older sister I always wanted. I think it's time I accepted that things are what they are, and we might not ever have that close bond. Update, October 18th, 2015, 2 months later. Thanks to everyone who responded to the original post. Your advice was appreciated, and I really did try to follow it. Well, I wish I could say my sister has come around and everything is better, but in fact, everything is much, much worse. Since my last post 2 months ago, my sister has moved and won't tell us where, is refusing to talk to my parents, specifically my mom, and when we as sisters meet to hang out, she does a complete 180 whenever any of this trouble with Jerry is brought up. My younger sisters and I have decided to cut contact with her, because her behavior and anger directed towards our parents is unacceptable. It's also come out recently that she has said some pretty hurtful things about all of us, including that my older sister and her husband are only married because of their son, and that she thinks it would have been better if my parents had stopped having kids after her so they could have paid for her college and all of her needs. I don't really understand how you can wish people in your family had never been born. I would maybe understand if she was joking or said it once out of anger, but she said it multiple times and seemed serious every time. My oldest sister, 31 female, is keeping in contact with her for now. We think she's the only one allowed to see my sister because Jerry thinks that my older sister likes him. My oldest sister and her husband can't stand Jerry, but want to act as the bridge in case my sister ever comes to her senses. I don't know how much of my sister's behavior is influenced by Jerry, or if this is just her deciding to be cruel, but these past couple of months have been really hard. My parents try to keep everything civil, but my sister seems to have this anger in her. She's taken to Facebook, pretty juvenile, I know, with declarations of being happy for the first time in her life, and verbally attacking family and friends who post anything that doesn't agree with her opinions wholeheartedly. She's really isolating herself from my family and all but 2 of her friends. They approve of Jerry, so they're welcome in her life. Anyway, my mom is done with her behavior. My sister took a trip to Iceland, and when my mom asked her how it was, my sister went off about how she's still upset that the family hates Jerry, and she doesn't want to associate with us if we can't accept everything about him. She wouldn't even listen when my mom asked her to explain his behavior. She was completely irrational and said some terrible things to intentionally hurt my mom's feelings. I think my dad is still hoping she'll come to her senses. He gets really defensive when any of us bring her up. He's always felt a special attachment to my sister because they're the only lefties in the family, and my sister has tried so hard to be like him. I understand that, but I think he's hoping for a day that will never come. Personally, I think my sister is comfortable in abusive relationships. She's always been a very manipulative person, and she's always wanted to be the black sheep of the family. Now with Jerry, she has more of an excuse than ever. I think she's too arrogant a person to even realize how wrong she is about Jerry. If it seems like I have a lot of animosity towards my sister, it's because she's been intentionally cruel to my family and our family friends these past couple of months. She said a lot of hurtful things to the people who have been so good to her, including to a friend who is dealing with cancer and doesn't have time for her shit. And I think even if we are able to forgive her, we aren't going to forget. Meanwhile, Jerry hasn't tried to contact us and help clear up any misunderstandings. I'm sure he's just enjoying watching my sister implode. Too long didn't read, my sister is still madly in love with Jerry and is continuing to isolate herself from family and friends. We give up. Relevant comments. Perry Mary. I know it's hard to watch your sister making bad choices, but she sounds very stubborn and maybe she will learn something out of it. It's hard, but if she wants to isolate herself to be with this guy, then there's nothing you could do. The more you reject him, the more she'll want him. OP responds, at this point, I'm not even feeding into it anymore. I blocked her on Facebook and I don't respond when she texts me, because most of the time, she's just trying to start shit. I just can't stand that she's hurting the people who have been so supportive and kind to her, family or not. Deleted. Do you think Jerry introduced her to any drugs? OP responds, she does seem a little manic, but I'd hate to jump to that conclusion. Update. August 11th, 2025. 10 years later. Well, hey, I never thought I'd find one of my posts in any of the best of subreddits, lol. Not sure I want to go through the trouble of posting legit update, but basically, 10 years later. They're married, and being horrible people together. My sister pushed out a couple of kids, which Jerry, of course, uses as leverage to blackmail my parents into playing nice, aka not calling out his bullshit. Won't leave his kids alone with anyone in the family except the people who thinks like him. So, just my aunt and uncle at this point. My parents tried the whole, you're an asshole, here's our boundaries talk, but that backfired. And he threatened to cut my sister and her kids out of my parents' life, and my parents backed down immediately. Not great behavior if you want to stop a bully, but they want to make sure they can stay in the grandkids' lives, so I'm not pushing it. My dad finally acknowledged that not only is Jerry toxic, but so is my sister. So that's an improvement at least. Nothing has really changed regarding my reduced/minimal contact with my sister. Thanks to a lot of support here and through therapy, I was able to figure out it isn't my nor my family's responsibility to fix my sister. It's also not my job to police other people's relationships. If she thinks her relationship is happy/healthy and she's never asked my advice, what can I do? So I'm prioritizing myself and my mental health and letting her drown in her own bullshit. The last time I ever agreed to talk to my sister one-on-one, which wasn't really one-on-one because Jerry was clearly there listening in, she kept looking off screen and mouthing shit like we weren't doing a video call. She tried to take ownership of my childhood sexual abuse, lol, like it didn't happen to me, it actually happened to her. I just kinda nodded and listened, all the while internally screaming. I can't imagine being so delusional. But when we ended the call, I was more sad than anything. Why would she need to take ownership of something so traumatic and awful? I still don't understand it. Here's what I ended up doing overall. Number 1, when he makes disparaging comments about my sister/family in front of me, he likes to comment on her intelligence, her weight, her parenting, loudly, and in front of others. I call him out immediately. I can't say I'm super abrasive about it, but he has stopped making comments in front of me. Number 2, all of my contact with my sister is just to talk with her kids. Number 3, he doesn't get to be alone around me, my female family members, or our kids. No more forced hugs, no touching, nada. All in all, it's been a long 9 years of their bullshit with no real end in sight. I'd have to write a book to catalog it all, and I don't have the energy or time to give her anymore. I'm cordial to her and Jerry, and that's all they'll get from me. I do just want to note, I wonder if OP and her sister both experienced some form of CSA as they were growing up, and that's kind of why that confusion happened. But beyond that point, Jerry just sounds like a creep, sounds like he's incredibly manipulative, and from square one, his goal was to tear apart your sister's life and rebuild it, one brick at a time. And unfortunately, he succeeded. And that sucks. Like, you watch your sister start to get back on her feet, then she met Jerry, and then she just does a complete 180 and falls right back into her old habits. Jerry's gross, and through the 10 years that OP's been dealing with, it sounds like they've been putting up with it the most they can. They've done what they can, they've left a lifeline for their sister, but also just kind of putting up with the bullshit because they're holding the grandkids hostage for Jerry's creepy fucking behavior that he refuses to acknowledge and just passes off as being jokes. I'm a little jokester. I'm just a silly little guy. You can't get mad at me. Anyways, let me sniff your hair. Jerry's just creepy and potentially abusive. We don't have enough information, but just, it is what it is. And OP's taken the proper steps, I think, to just deal with this fiasco. Hey, welcome to the outro. Don't forget this whole thing is basically brought to you by GamerSupps. If you like caffeine, then I can't recommend GamerSupps enough. Use code Oz at checkout to support the channel. And I do actually use this product. It's replaced all other sources of caffeine for me because I feel good. It doesn't have any of that extra stuff that a pre-workout blend might have. It's with a couple of the extra things to make it so you don't crash as hard. It's good. I like it. Personally, if you really want a good flavor, try the Soda Pressing Pear or even the Dragon Fruit Punch. Those two are my personal favorites right now.